Well, hello, readers. I am so excited to be back again with my friend Allen Brokken. We are going to be talking about his new book, Wellspring of Life, which the series is amazing. This one just adds more drama and tension and all the things. But before we get started talking about the book, Allen, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
So, hi, everybody. So, I'm a homeschooling dad of three children who are now off to college.
So it works.
it's a whole.
The homeschooling works.
Yes, it does work. They do go off to school, and actually, they were all. Well, my daughter started in third grade, but after that, the rest of them went through all the way. So, you can do it. It can be done. It takes a little extra work. I work in sales as a profession, but on the side, while I was traveling for work all the time, I started writing these stories for my kids, and over time, they just they took on a life of their own. And so now, yesterday, I launched the fifth book in the series of six.
That is so cool. So fifth book. So there's one more coming out that will be. Do you know when that one's coming out?
God willing, this time next year. So we might just have another little party the day after the launch on your show, because I just wanted to come talk to the avid readers. I enjoy participating in the discussions. I picked up some books there myself that I might want to read, and so I thought I'd share with you all some of the inside scoop on what's going on with my series.
I love it. And I love the fact that you started with your kids, and it's a way to bond with the kids. So really, you had your target audience in mind when you started, what ends up being our families too. Like you were thinking of your kids, what they would like, the spiritual values that you wanted to pass on. Share a little bit about that, because that really is the heart behind the series, which I think is so important for parents. There's a lot of books out there that are exciting, and there's dangerous, and there's, rising to the challenge and all these things. But truly, your heart is the values and what you're instilling in your kids.
Yeah. So to that point, I think one of the things that the way I looked at it was there was great work out there. And unfortunately, a lot of the great work with the values that I wanted to give my kids had been, written in the past century or centuries, depending on how you look at it. Very little, a lot of what was coming out at the time my kids were growing up. I really wanted to take that Christian worldview that I had and find a way to reinforce what we were doing in Bible study. Like we did devotions, we did the Action Bible, we did that stuff, but I want to reinforce it. And so, there's just different values in each book. So if we look at the first book in the series, Light of Mine, the value there is discernment. The kids are kind of getting some fake news from people that are supposed to be in charge, and they got to go back to the good book to see, what's right and true. Then the second book in the series, Still Small Voice, is really about your conscience, right? It's listening for God's still small voice and understanding, when do I listen to my conscience? When do I obey? Like working that out, because it's not always the case that the people who are in authority are asking you to do the right thing, right? And so it's a story about that, right? The kid's uncle wants them to go do stuff that's not really the path they're supposed to be on.
Yeah.
Then in Fear No Evil, which, came out in the midst of the pandemic, is a story about three kids who are lost and alone in a valley of darkness. And they've got to pray for the courage to fear no evil. So it's really a story about courage. Then we've got Armor of God, that is, we talk about the pieces of the armor of the God throughout it. But I really kind of, when I sign these, I tell people, I always put on the boots of the gospel of peace. And, one of the things that came out of this for me that was really interesting is there's a character in here I intended to be like a bad guy throughout, right? Like just this ongoing thing. And I just felt prompted to redeem that character. Like all of a sudden I got to do something with it. And so it was really hard to write because I had to figure out how to have a 5-year-old tell, an almost adult the gospel, right? And so this is really that, message. And then really Wellspring of Life, the underlying theme is guard your heart.
Yeah.
Because it's the wellspring of light. And so that's each book has a different one. And then, Demolishing the Stronghold, God willing, will come out next year. I was writing the first synopsis or my breakdown of how I break the story down this morning. So
oh wow. Launching the book and no rest for the weary, right? Launching the book and you start on that. And so what I love is I don't want to give too much of the plot away because this is book 5, but there's a journey of finding their father that goes through the book, but it's not like all's well by the time you get to book 5. So
Right.
I'm trying to figure out how to say this without giving too much away. But so I'll have you share. Where are they on this journey?
So one of the things I say often is God is not a cosmic vending machine. We don't get to just sit down and pray and everything work out perfect every time.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things as Christian storytellers, we'd like it to be that way. Right? Because many times it does. Many times God moves mountains literally. Many times miraculous things happen. But sometimes, according to his purpose and his plan, it doesn't.
Right.
And so part of the gist of this story is the kids periodically are praying for big things to happen that just don't.
Yeah.
And coming to grips with that and being mentored through those challenges. And especially with the way book 5 ends, everybody's mad at me. And I think you know why they're mad at me.
Yeah.
But that's what happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. I mean, again, not to give it away, but you know, if you go off as an adult or even as a young child, you know, you end up in spiritual warfare. You don't always come back perfect. Things don't always work out in the end. And so I try to keep that because it keeps it real.
Yeah.
But also miraculous and amazing things happen throughout that gives everyone hope. So it's trying to balance that out and keep it an interesting and engaging story.
And there is hope there. So now you're starting the book. There's hope. The title kind of gives it away. The wellspring of life. There's hope for them. They're on a new type of journey. And so what I love is like there's the journey throughout. It's like we are looking forward, and that's the journey of life. Like there's ups and there's downs. And I think one of the things that I've talked about, like we raise our kids and we're raising them to be Christian young men and women. They're going to make choices of their own, which we want them to make good choices. But even if they make really good choices, I have some of this with my adult kids, they make the right choices, hard things still happen to them.
Oh yeah.
In their life.
Absolutely.
You know? Yeah.
Well,
so then it's learning how to overcome, even if you are making all the right choices.
Right. No, totally. And this one this one also took a real turn. There's a side character that's a friend of one of the kids that is just really struggling. And I think, you know, one of the other things as believers, if as we've raised our children in the church and that sort of stuff, whether they personally are the one that's struggling with their faith, or maybe they're feeling, you know, confident in what they believe, but their friends aren't. I feel like this gives a vehicle for those conversations.
Yeah.
Right. Like I've had many times my kids have come home and, hey, this friend is in this situation. And so I feel like it gives you a vehicle for that too. And that was not something that's not how I expected to write this particular story, but it was just the right way to flow that whole thing out.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so tell us a little bit about the characters. Then I want you to talk about all of the awesome material that you have to go on with this series. So tell us about the characters first, and then all the cool swag, because you do such a great job with that. It's just amazing.
So I think we have 3 kids. We have Lauren, who's age 12, Aiden, who's 9, and Ethan, who's 5. And that just kind of matched the way my kids were age-wise. And what makes this a family read aloud and what makes it work is that the kids are those different ages. So they've got their, you know, furry stuff. It was, you know, as little kids, it was their furry stuffed animals that came to life in the story. Yeah. So Lauren has her kitten, right?
Yeah.
And each one of these animals, and Aiden has his duck, and Ethan has his frog, and while those things are sort of comical and cutesy and something a 5 to 7-year-olds interested in, they don't dominate the story, but they're there with enough comic relief and enough little, oh, that was cute, to keep that 5-year-old wondering what's going to happen next or when they're going to come back in the story so they don't wander off, right? Yeah. Then we've got, you know, stuff for that kind of, you know, the boys in the story. There's lots of action and building. When I was a kid, I liked Jack London's stories where he was out in the wilderness. And so there's a lot of that, just the detail of being in the wilderness. One of the things, there's a link there that Kristen dropped in for the launch thing. So I do a lot of research, right, for these stories. And so one of the things that they've got to overcome is the prairie itself, right? There's fires, there's sunburns and burns, there's lack of water, you know, and that middle boy character is kind of the builder. And so there's some things that break and he's got to fix it, right? And then we've got the youngest character, the 5-year-old Ethan. He's the heart of the story. right? And he's got cute little things. And one of the cute little things that blew my mind, because readers send me feedback all the time.
I love it.
He's got his oka meal that he likes to eat. Oka meal. And so what happened was, I had so many readers telling me they picked that up in their family as they've been reading it to the family. Actually, you can get, if you subscribe to my mailing list, you'll get the oka meal recipe, right?
I love that.
It's something you can print out and I had it. Apparently, this week was National Oatmeal Day, so I had a couple families that actually tagged me on Instagram with, "Hey, we made oka meal this week."
That
so anyway,
is so cute. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where this is really something the family can get into and enjoy as a group, and everybody has fun with it. That's really the point. Now we have the mother and the father, and they're actually all in the story now.
Yeah.
So one of the things with middle grade is, if I go back to that first book I mentioned, Light of Mine, parents have to disappear under mysterious circumstances, or it's not middle grade.
Yes, exactly.
But they actually end up in the story, and that makes it tricky. And actually, one of the things that's really tricky about it is if you end up bringing sort of the heroic dad back in the story, that can often take over the story.
Right.
And so that's a lot of why this is the way it is. But mom is key in this. And it's tricky for me because, well, I'm a dude. I was never a mom, right? Like that's not a thing. So basically, I'm blessed with a great editor, Sarah Grimm, and then my sort of writing partner, Kaylin Cummins. They both help me fix that anywhere I've like written a mom that's not a mom.
She's being too dad-like right here.
Yeah, well, or like one of the pieces of feedback, she sounds like a petulant teenager, not a mom. I'll fix that. But I think the important part here is many stories, for ease of writing, make mom or dad evil, incompetent, unaware, bumbling, whatever.
Like they're just dead.
Yeah, there's reason for that there to be disrespect of them, basically, in the normal. And what I really wanted to do was make this so that's not how family really works.
Right.
At the end of the day, mom is competent, dad is competent. They might be struggling with something right now that we got to overcome, but let's write a story like that. And I've got good feedback from parents that appreciate that.
Yeah, that is so good. Okay, so you talk about you're doing a giveaway. Tell us a little bit about what the giveaway is, and then some of the other things that you've created.
So I guess from a giveaway perspective, and you know what, I don't remember what I put in the thing for sure, because I've given away a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But I think I was giving away the unit study pack. Was that right?
I didn't. I mean, I clicked on it.
Well, that's what I am giving away. Let's put it that way.
Unit study pack.
What I have is I have the first book in the series. So, Light of Mine, which is cool. And then I have a 4-week unit study that goes with that. So you read a chapter, basically a chapter a day for 20 days. And there's really cool stuff in here. There's coloring pages and puzzles and vocabulary, and then reading comprehension and the joke of the day.
Yes.
Joke of the day. As far as I know, I'm the only curriculum with joke of the day. So there's a win right there. So there's that. But wait, there's more. I also have a pathway player that is the audiobook version of Light of Mine, read by Stacey Bradshaw. She's a Christian actress. She just put out the Mount Hideaway Mysteries movie that's really cool. But anyway,
very cool.
And in addition, there's a bonus track on here that's kind of two different versions of this little Light of Mine on piano. Ooh. So it's got a little speaker on it, so you can listen to it as a group, or it comes with headphones. And this is all sort of like the premium pack that we put out. And I recently had it reviewed by the Homeschool Review crew, and they gave it high marks.
Yes, I saw that review. I'm like, yeah, I know him. So that was great. So if we go to your website, I'm jumping ahead because now that you're talking about it, I think my grandson would love that for Christmas. So if I wanted to get the little audio thing, how is it available on your website?
Yeah, so if you go for that whole pack, if you just go to towersoflight.net/homeschool, I think that's what it is, homeschool or educators. Give me a second. Towersoflight.net, you'll find it there. There's a catalog link. Okay. It's right there on the front page.
Okay, very cool. And what I love, yes, you can use the unit study for homeschoolers, which we love. Read out louds. We love unit studies. We love being able to follow through. But you could do this after dinner if if your kids are in school, private school, public school. You can do it after dinner. So don't feel like, oh, I'm not a homeschooler. My family can't do this. Read it out loud. We've done that for years. In the evening, also read it out loud. And then the activities are fun and simple. It's not going to take you hours and hours. This is something you could totally do after dinner and have a wonderful time with your family.
Yeah, well, the other thing I'll say about it too is just from the feedback, like reading between the lines and all that sort of stuff as to what people are saying. If your child's going to grandma's house for part of the holiday season or something like that, where they just need something to do, or you're going to have a really long flight, like I think it's 5 or 6 hours of audio and a workbook. I mean, that's just a great thing to sit there and color puzzles, lots of stuff. And there's projects in there too, just if you want to do something fun on a rainy day.
Yeah. Yep. All those holiday trips that you're taking, car rides, airplane rides, this would be perfect for it. So cool. All right. So I know you also have, do you have little action figures or?
Well, they're not action figures, but my wife thinks they could be. Like,
well, that's what I'm thinking. Well, I didn't mean that. Yeah.
This is a vinyl sticker of Lauren and her little kitten Meow Meow. These just came in yesterday.
Oh, this is so cool.
I wasn't expecting this. And this is Aiden and his duck, Daddy Duck. And then this is Ethan and his frog, Sparkle Frog. And these are just little tiny vinyl stickers. They're great to put on anything. But my wife was kind of like, well, I think this could just be something you play with. Like, these are like paper dolls. There's so many things. And so I may have to make a little Tower of Light like game, right? With a spinner and a tower and something. And you got your little guys. There's so many things. We're just really blessed. Reese Irby is our artist, and she just does such an amazing job. And my wife has committed now that she's going to redo our website to make it a lot more kid-friendly. So you should be able to, but in short order, should be able to go out and get the joke of the day, and we'll have games and puzzles. And I'm going to start putting together some cool dad projects, just like fun stuff to do. I think the first one is like how to add a soundtrack to anything.
Oh, very cool. Yeah. And so is that the same person that did the covers? Because the covers are just amazing, though. I mean,
yeah. So Reese is sort of the artist that does all the line drawings, but then the covers are done by Lorianne Weldon. She's just a professional cover designer that's done a lot of covers. I think I saw her, the first cover of hers I saw, I was like, I have to have her do my covers, and she has just done a great job.
I mean, I just love because the kids look so real. It's not like too cartoony, but it's also intriguing. I mean, just looking at that, you're like, what's going on? What's happening? There's a shield and a spear, and they're kids and a sword. I got to know what's happening. So I think mean, they do just do a fantastic job with that. So do you give like a basic idea of this is what I'd like to see on the cover, or how does that work?
So this cover in particular was kind of that. I said, look, I'd really like I wanted the space to be like a geode. I said, I want a fountain in the middle of a geode. And then she just did things. And, the process is you get 3 takes on it. And then based on those 3 takes, I kind of pick one I like the most. And then we work back and forth off of that one. This one was actually a lot easier than Armor of God, to be honest, because you can find a 3-tier fountain.
Right.
This one, if you see that kind of, person in the background there, the scary kind of, ooh, who is that?
Yeah.
We actually had to get the real life Lauren to dress up in this cowl and hold the shield, and took like this whole photo shoot in the garage with her standing up on a table to get that person to put in the thing. Like, Lorianne could do all the rest of it, but she just didn't have somebody in the right. She couldn't make up somebody that was in that right mode.
That is so cool that she would go to the effort to.
Well, let me tell you, it did cost me a pretty penny. Her artistic fee for participating.
Yeah, but I mean, these covers are just amazing, and you've done an excellent job. And I think that really matters too, because kids are going to get excited when they see this, and they want to know more. So I would love to hear more of the type of feedback you talked about. People tagging you on Instagram, and I mean, it's just so fun to know that there's families out there that you're impacting. What started as you writing stories for your kids are now just this ripple effect going out. So what is some of the feedback that you're getting from families as they're going through the series?
So I think, one of the big ones is I've got like a whole family of 7 that's been reading this series, right? Well, I got a family of 7 that I've gotten ongoing stuff, and then I got another family of 8. So these two very large families. And what they like the most about it is, even though they now have upper teens, 16, 17-year-old kids, they still want to hear the story. They want to know what happens.
Yeah.
Like there's enough action and intrigue and just sort of more adult themes in it. Things that a more adult child would find interesting, that they're still engaged. They want to know what happens. They want to know where it goes. There are some parts that are a little scary here and there. I do get that feedback, right?
Yeah.
So if you've got really sensitive kids, this probably, isn't for your sensitive 5 to 7-year-old, right? Like that's fair feedback. But for the most part, people really enjoy the overall Christian themes that are in it. They like the action and suspense. And the few people that have seen the new one, right, the one that just came out, they really like that I've added friends. So one of the
I was
things
going to mention that there's all new characters and
So this was a little tricky because I kind of had to get rid of some characters for a book so I could add more, because you can only talk about so many people at once. Right. But I actually added my boys' friends as a kid.
Oh, cool.
So the new characters, Jesse and Logan, were Aiden and Ethan's friends growing up, and so that was a lot of fun. And they're both college age boys now, but they appreciated being in the story and they liked how it turned out. And there's sort of this combo move thing in there that what I'm talking about, that was just so fun to write. Like, this, of all the books I've written so far, this was the most fun. And I gotta say, I love Gramps and him going off about his no good egg stealing prairie dogs. He's always mad about something. I had a lot of fun with this book, and that's the feedback. Like, people really like the new characters. They like the other thing is, it's I try to ground it in reality that's then sort of corrupted, as opposed to bringing in elves and dwarves and manicores and that kind of stuff. And people like that, like the fact that it's prairie dogs, coyotes, bison, things that would have been in the American frontier. Those are the characters. And I go through a whole thing. The Facebook thing there is like me talking about, what did I have to learn about prairie dogs and coyotes and crows? Like, I do a lot of research to make those parts of the story real, like figuring out how many crows would it take to pick up a person on a blanket.
Yeah. I love that. And I love that you did the research and did that, because you can't, a lot of kind of fantasy type books, because there is definitely a fantasy element to this. They do bring in all those other creatures, but this is creatures that they would recognize. They're learning more about it as you're going through the book too.
So I'm really curious though, since you read it, and this won't spoil too much, what did you think of the Crystal Palace?
I don't think I'm that far in the book though.
Oh, not that far yet? Okay. Didn't mean to put you on the spot.
I'm giving them like, we're not that far yet.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay. But because tell me, since it's not spoiling it, I would love to hear a little bit more about the Crystal Palace.
Well, if you see the cover, right, that's where the wellspring is. And basically the kids get there through a secret door. And so there's this whole new thing about secret doors, and that's about all I'm going to say.
Okay.
But I was just curious, since it's on the cover, I wasn't giving away too much.
Yes. And there's, they could always go back and read the back cover copy too. So,
because it's kind of there. Yeah.
So, and the giant skull crusher. I mean, I just love the stuff that you come up with. It's so great.
Well, and what's funny about Skull Crusher is actually originally the story was every other chapter was him being sneaky and bad and doing stuff. And so all of that got pulled out because it didn't keep the tension where we wanted it. And it also, so I don't know, do you remember the Smurfs?
Yes. Yep.
You remember the bad guy human in the Smurfs?
What was his name? Like Egon?
Gargamel.
Okay, yeah.
I kind of had this Gargamel thing going on with Skull Crusher and this moose. It was pretty funny. Like there were these humorous things happening to Skull Crusher as it goes along, and Sarah was just like, "No, it makes you kind of feel sorry for him, and you should never feel sorry for Skull Crusher."
Yeah.
So Skull Crusher gets to be the big bad.
Yeah.
Throughout. So.
That's good.
But I got a whole thing that I might publish as a side thing as we go along.
Because now you have the whole thing written with the side Skull Crusher, right?
Yeah, I've got the content. I just haven't quite figured out how I'm going to republish it, like for people to read it.
Yeah. Okay, so you're writing book 6. Do you think it's going to end in book 6? Or are you going to be tempted to keep going after book 6?
So everyone has made it clear to me that it must end in book 6.
Okay.
So this story, the story of the kids and their parents, will end at the end of book 6.
Okay.
Now there might be a little novella, so like 6.5, about Uncle at the end. Like it's not it's basically something that happens after this,
right?
So that might happen just because I have this cool story that doesn't fit into 6 books, but also doesn't have to be there. Like it's just this,
right.
So there's that. So that's the first thing is yes, this series will end at 6. God willing, though, next year there will also be a little home for the holidays Christmas thing with the kids.
Oh.
To kind of go around this. Like I've got an idea for that. But then I have a new series that I planned out, and it's called Samuel's Search for the Fruits of the Spirit.
Oh, cool. I was wondering if you were going to come up with a new series.
Yeah, and so he's a little boy that lives in this world and actually ran into Uncle along the way. And in the process, him and his grandma hear the gospel, and there's this good news. And so he goes to church for the first time, and I think Prairie Church, a lot of Prairie Church is based on the tradition where like kids sat in the front row, elders sat in the front looking at them.
Yeah.
Okay. But our friend Samuel has ADD.
Oh, yeah.
So between the disapproving stares of the elders and the ants in his pants, Samuel's not sure this is all that much good news going on here.
Right.
But then the pastor says there's this fruit that'll give him self-control. So if there's some fruit that's going to give him self-control, he's going to go find it.
I love that.
And so that's the gist of that sort of 9-book kind of shorter. Think of them like a smaller book,
like an early reader type of.
Yeah, early chapter book kind of book, more like 25,000 words instead of mine are like 65. So God willing, that'll be what happens next. And then I have another idea, but basically this main saga will wrap up next year, this time. And then the other thing we're doing is in January, we will have curriculum and audiobooks for the first 3.
Okay.
That gives you 12 weeks of curriculum, and you can get the whole package.
Oh, good. You have been busy for sure. Keeping all this.
Yep.
Yeah. So are you doing anything in your spare time? Because you're just writing all these books and doing all these fun things.
My spare time.
It was a joke because you're putting out a lot, and I love that.
Yeah, no, I play little video games with my friends. I got some online friends that do that, and hang out with my kids. My son Aiden, who's off to college, he comes home on Sundays periodically. We play some games. I do some other stuff, but yeah, I've got it because my day job is not this. Like,
I know. That's what I'm like so amazed that you're able to do all this.
I myself have ADD, which is part of the reason why I'm drawn to writing a story that the protagonist has those challenges that someone with ADD has. So
yeah, I love it. Okay, so my last question I always love to ask is what Christian fiction that you've either read or heard about or enjoyed lately that you can share? Because I know we are both at Realm Makers, and there's all these types of books. So is there anything that looked interesting to you or that you've read that you've really enjoyed in the Christian fiction genre?
So I mentioned on the group, Lost Bits by Carrie Neitz.
Yeah.
And that is just super fun. I love Lost Bits. But I already talked about that on the group. So if you give me a second, I just want to make sure I'm giving the right title here. The other one, it's called Empire's Rift, The Baedeker Invasion by Steve Raza.
Okay.
It's an older book. It's not, it's been out for a while. But what blew my mind was because I listened to this story and I loved it. Okay, because it's got space battles and land battles, but it's also got like family dynamics. There's a wedding, and there's drama of a lover's triangle, and then there's aliens of different kinds and robot humans, and underneath it is this whole sort of spiritual challenge of like, what's Christianity look like in a world of AI?
Yeah.
And I think Steve handled it so well, and the challenges and the people and whatnot in there. Steve just did an awesome job with all of that. But it really, I mean, from a sci-fi perspective, it's like, to me, it's like the Rogue One. It's like Rogue One, right? That
so
story.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, because Rogue One had all of those elements. It had space battles and land battles and family dynamics and all of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And not everything worked out okay, and there were bad things happen and that sort of stuff. And Steve just did an awesome job with that story. And I just really love. I just thought it was great. So that's what I've read recently. And then what I've got on my list right now, I'm listening to Rooms by James Rupert.
Oh, that's such a good one. I really like that one. Yep, James is awesome. He does a good job, and I think Rooms is one of my favorites. So
yeah, I just started it, so no spoilers.
Yeah, I won't. It's so fun to go to, like, because I saw you on Railmakers. Like, we were passing in the hall.
Yeah,
constantly.
Never quite connected.
Never quite connected. But I went last year because I was just going to support my son. And I ended up reading all these books that wasn't the genre that I usually read, that I'm just in love with. So it's so fun. And then your books. And I mean, it's just so fun to, like, this whole other world I feel that's out there that I'm discovering, and I'm having a blast with it. So it's really cool.
Yeah, no, and I highly say if you are sort of a homeschooling family and you go to the conventions, if you can find the Railmakers booth, pretty much everything in there is high quality. Like, you should go there, because you're going to find different stuff than you see Barnes & Noble, ChristianBooks.com. You're just going to find some different stuff there, and it's all really good.
And you could trust it, because who knows when you pick up books, or even the library. My kids will bring me books, and I'll open them in the middle and start reading. I'm like, nope. The next one, open in the middle, start reading. I'm like, nope. And they end up like 2 that I approve of out of 12. So yeah, it's so good to know that there's good stuff out there. And so that's also why I appreciate what you're doing. Again, so again, the book we're talking about today is Wellspring of Life. Now, Allen, where can they go to get more information about this book, the series, the curriculum, everything that you're doing?
So you just go to towersoflight.net. That's it's real short. It's towersoflight.net. And that'll tell you everything you need to know. I am on Amazon, though, so you can find me there. And Amazon worldwide.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the opportunity. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you. Okay.